Now, obviously, all of this is being done because there's a critical question hanging in the air. Exactly what went wrong to cause this catastrophic accident? NBC's Jay Barbary is at the Kennedy Space Center. He is with us now. Of course, has covered all of the space program. So, Jay, it does appear that the thing that people were pointing to at the very beginning, that insulation affecting some of the heat tiles, is increasingly likely the cause. Yes?
Well, that's what they're focused on for us, but they really don't know. And we have to emphasize again because we reported on a memo yesterday where they admitted that they had more tiles missing than they'd let us know. But anyway, the point is there are several areas. It could have been one beginning in, a second one joining in. It could have been tires going flat within the left tire well, the gear well there. They could have opened that gear door part of the way. There's so many things that it could be besides just the tiles that we want to caution everybody. But right now, the big bad suspects are those missing tiles beneath the left wings that we've been talking about, Forrest.
So we were just talking to Chip about this recovery effort that is going on, the search. What will they be looking for that might be able to target this suspected cause?
Well, all of the tiles that they find on the ground, they're all numbered, so they will know where they were on the aircraft. They want to go back and look for tiles as early as back in New Mexico that may have come off over California when they first started the heat of reentry. An astronomer on the West Coast was watching through a telescope, and he reported that he saw tiles actually coming off there. If they did, they would be coming down in New Mexico, possibly even as early as California. So they want to go back up range if they can and try to see if they can find tiles up there. And we could say to anybody that might spot one or think it is one to call the authorities and not remove it, because they want to know precisely where it landed. This will help them with their trajectory and figure out what went wrong. Now, any of the pieces that they find may give them a clue. They fit together like a puzzle in this huge hangar they're putting them in at Barksdale Air Force Base for us. And from there, they expect to get their conclusions. They're expected to get them closed out with evidence that they will have there. This will be the final evidence that will tell them they're on the right path. Right now, Ron Dittemore, the shuttle program manager, said yesterday that there is a missing link. They don't know what it is, but it's out there, and they're trying to find that missing link. But he said right now it appears that the tiles is the most probable cause, not really cause, but is the point that they're looking at.
Jay Barbary in Cape Canaveral, the Kennedy Space Center. Thanks for joining us again, Jay.
Yeah.
Well, James Oberg, MSNBC science and space analyst, a former shuttle engineer, knows all too well how difficult and how dangerous these tasks are. He joins us now from Houston. Jim, good talking to you again. How are you?
Hello, Forrest.
Give us a sense, if you would. You've been a shuttle engineer. Just how risky is it? Do you consider these basically experimental missions, every one of them?
These flights, if not experimental, at least are on the edge. We fly the shuttle on the edge of the possible, always trying to stay just over that edge. Always looking for things that might cause problems, and of course now we're faced with this catastrophe. It's a soul-searching effort now going on within people at NASA, some of my old colleagues and over there, trying to find out what it was that they overlooked, if anything. They might have overlooked something, and they're going to find it out. They might not have. It might have been a real accident.
Well, Jim, you know, a lot of us, as we're looking at what could be the root cause, and I underscore the word could be the root cause, a lot of us find it hard to imagine that a piece of insulating foam flying off and striking the wing could actually be the cause of the disaster.
It is very hard to imagine, Forrest, and it's even harder to compute, because when you look at that, look at the weight of it, look at the force, the impact of a few pounds, those tiles, while they're not steel, they're not made out of balsa wood, and they have some strength, and you can lose some tiles, and we have in the past. We've had charring sometimes, in one case, a burn through into some of the metal. It hasn't caused a vehicle loss. What I've felt from the beginning, and what Ron Dittemore said yesterday, and Ron and I flew missions together back in the very early shuttle programs, saying that there's some missing links here. There's some missing links in the sequence of causes between the impact, if that in fact did begin this link, and the final catastrophe. These kind of accidents, in our experience, and we've paid a bitter price for that experience, these kind of accidents are rarely caused by a single stupid oversight. It's usually a chain of things, a chain of bad luck, bad days that conspire together to create this kind of disaster.
Well, precisely to that point, this is what's becoming a little concerning as the days go on. We start hearing about these reports that date all the way back to 1997, where engineers and overseers are saying there is a problem here, and these are old vessels, there is not enough money, we should be very careful about this, all the way down to an alarming letter that was sent to President Bush saying that a catastrophe was waiting to happen.
I know that letter. I know the man who sent it. He deserves attention. But we have, Forrest, we've got boxes full of letters like that, including people at NASA who have concerns. They'll file their concerns. They'll be often looked at. You measure them. You try and measure them. And in the end, you have to find a way of saying, well, no, that concern is probably not valid.
But here's my point, Jim. You know that the budget constraints have been very real. You know that these orbiters are getting old. In fact, Columbia is the oldest one. So I'm asking you, in your view, have you had some ongoing concerns that maybe we've been pushing this a little too close to the edge?
People have said that, and I've always worried. And in fact, I've seen video of that debris impact since the second day of the mission, and have been trying to figure out myself, and couldn't find the answer to it. But these problems, again, people who work in this business are not self-delusional or careless. At the Cape, processors there can raise their hands and ground the fleet if they have concerns. And it happened last year. Several times, we remember, unusual and disturbing indications in the rocket nozzles, in one case, in the fuel area, stopped the launches for months. So we'll have to see what it was and see if these warnings really had impacted safety, or just, as some people said, were threatening to impact safety in other areas. We don't know. Jumping to conclusions now would not help the investigation, but we in the outside want to understand. I'm encouraged, Forrest, and I think you've seen it too, that the NASA officials, especially Mr. Dittemore and his associates, are talking to us with what they know, what they don't know, what they worry about, how they felt, with a candor that we haven't seen for a long time, and I'm happy to see again.
Yeah, that's something that they're getting a lot of praise for, because they are being very open to the American people. I think the American people are receiving it well. Looking forward, as they begin to sort through this, do you think that there is at least a possibility that the space program could be at some risk, that the space station might have to be shut down for a period of time?
There's two questions. We're going to follow them both. In fact, we'll be setting up a special website that I'll be taking care of for NBC, for the NBC family, to follow the story through. First, with the shuttle investigation, my intuition remains that it's a operational or perhaps a maintenance or a combination of small things that conspired, and not a fundamental design flaw. Although you might want to make the insulation better. You might want to look again at tile inspection and even tile repair, which is not simple. And NASA spent a lot of money trying to figure out a way to have a repair kit on orbit, and it was just not something that was even difficult to do. It was too difficult to even do. We'll look at those kinds of things to do in future flights. The station, as you brought up, and you had a wonderful set of segments here earlier today, they have a crew up there now. They're quite clearly not going to come back on a shuttle mission, but there's a Soyuz flight that would have carried a couple of paying tourists in April. They're now going to send a new crew probably up to the station and bring the current crew, bring Kenny back home to his mother. He's going to land in Kazakhstan, and my advice to her is wait for him here. Don't go to Kazakhstan.
Well, I think one of the things we're going to start hearing is that old debate that has continually come up with the space program is exactly what are we getting out of this for the kind of risk and the kind of money that is being put out.
The debate must continue, because it's a fundamental question in any society, how much you put into future work and how smart that investment is. You can't just say it's future work and spend it foolishly, or spend lives foolishly. But to a certain degree, a society is strengthened both spiritually and physically by pushing the envelope, technical envelope, and exploring. Those societies that don't tend, in the lessons of history, to fall behind. I would say, and it's a bad day to say this, but I would say that if we were not pushing the frontiers as so hard that people do get hurt once in a while, that we weren't pushing them hard enough. The people involved in this flight knew that, and they believed it, and they had no illusion about the risks.
James Oberg is our science and space analyst. Of course, he worked on the shuttle for a good long time, and we're delighted to have him with us to provide some insight. Thanks a lot, Jim.
Thank you, Forrest. We'll see you again.
And our coverage does continue here on MSNBC. In fact, just about 20 minutes from now, we turn to a special memorial service that will be getting underway for the Columbia 7. There, people have gathered from so many areas. President and Mrs. Bush will be there meeting with family members privately after all of this. This a live picture from Johnson Space Center in Texas. The memorial service set to begin only minutes from now. And we'll hear from the family of the first Israeli astronaut, Ilan Ramon, already a hero in his country before his first and, as it turns out, his final mission in space.